To understand the deep-rooted rivalry between Brian and Quagmire, we will first have to look at how it actually started, and for that, we'll have to go back to the time Brian first learned about how Quagmire hates him. It all started when Cleveland left the group for his own show, and the boys needed a new member, so Brian suggested that he could fill in that space, only to be told about the horrific reality.
Oh, just that he hates you.
Quagmire hates me?
Hates you.
I don't get it. Why wouldn't Quagmire like me?
He decides to find the answer to that himself, so he comes up with a master plan about how he will wait outside Quagmire's house until Quagmire comes out, and he will then start a casual conversation with him before questioning why Quagmire hates him. Sounds like the plan of the century to me.
Hey, Quagmire, what a coincidence. You and me just running into each other. How you doing?
Fine.
He manages to get the first part right, but he sees a pretty girl standing at the door who looks like she just had a very fabulous time, so he tries to joke about it because it does not go right.
She's a hot piece of ass, and from the looks of it, she likes it rough.
That's my sister, Brian. Her boyfriend has been beating her mercilessly.
I apologize for my previous remarks, because it looks like she did not have a fabulous time in the least. Quagmire gets annoyed and asks if Brian wants to make fun of his deaf brother too, but Brian knows better than to do that.
I got a deaf brother. You want to make fun of him too?
At that moment, his sister's boyfriend comes back and starts beating her again. He continues to beat her, and instead of stopping him, Quagmire decides to go ask Brian instead if he feels better about his previous joke now. Yep, sounds like a really caring brother who did what he was supposed to do. Unfortunately, Brian did not know any better and says the worst thing he could have possibly said at that time.
Yeah, I'm not deaf.
Oh, what, like my brother?
Brian does not accept his defeat and comes up with another master plan to get closer to Quagmire by going out on a dinner with him, but it's not so good as it sounds.
Really? I thought he hated you. How'd you convince him to go? I tricked him, sent him a phony card. He thinks he's going on a date with an old girlfriend.
Doesn't sound like the best way to take someone out or to make them like you. Quagmire shows up to the date, but waiting for him is not an ex, but his neighborhood dog that he hates.
Brian, where's Cheryl Teagues?
Well, she's not coming. I wrote you that because I knew you'd never come if it was me.
Like any other person, Quagmire doesn't take it nicely, especially because he came to meet Cheryl, the love of his life that left him. Keep Cheryl in mind, because this isn't the last of her that you'll see in this video.
She was the great love of my life. I thought this was my chance to finally achieve some real happiness.
Quagmire starts having a breakdown, but Brian mentions how he only wants to be friends. That's why he had to use this way, and his words managed to reach Quagmire, so he reluctantly goes to the dinner with him. Brian tries very hard to start a conversation with him somehow, but it doesn't work out thanks to Quagmire's dry replies.
All I've done is try to be nice to you and you still don't like me. How can you not like me?
Talk about being very desperate. Brian tries to explain how he only wants to be his friend and has always been nice to him, so it doesn't make sense how Quagmire hates him.
Okay, I'll tell you. You are the worst person I know.
And his question lands him into a deep hole as Quagmire begins stating all the reasons one by one, starting from the most obvious one.
You constantly hit on your best friend's wife. The man pays for your food and rescued you from certain death, and this is how you repay him?
No one can blame Quagmire for saying that because that is a real dog move. Wait, it all makes sense now. A dog move by a dog. Fits right in. He leaves not a single thing in his heart, from Brian's hypocrisy to being a stingy person. More like a stingy dog, though.
And you're such a sponge. You pay for nothing. You always say, ooh, I'll get you later, but later never comes.
He says that Brian only dates bimbos, and I'm sure we all saw this coming, but he roasts the hell out of Brian for acting like he is some sort of intellectual person with very deep thoughts. And finally, he ends the hour-long roasting session by saying the realest thing ever said on the show, which is calling Brian a boring, miserable alcoholic. And from this point onwards, their relationship takes a turn for the worst, and how could it not have? Because up next, we have the time when Brian slept with Quagmire's dad. Now this one doesn't end so well, and it makes sense because when the dog you hate the most in this whole world sleeps with your dad, boy, anyone would go crazy. But it's not totally Brian's fault this time. But first, let us rewind a little bit in time when Quagmire suspected his dad of being gay and openly asked him about it. Thankfully, his dad said no.
Dad? Are you gay?
What?
Are you gay, Dad?
Oh, Glenn, I'm not gay.
But it was too soon to breathe a sigh of relief because that's not all his dad had to say. He promises Quagmire that he's not gay, but drops a nuclear bomb after dodging the bullet by revealing that he's going to turn into a woman.
But I am a woman trapped in a man's body. And while I'm in Quahog, I plan to have a sex change operation.
And like the brave man he is, or was, he stays on his decision and fully turns into a woman who is no longer trapped inside a man's body.
Oh my God!
What do you think, boys?
They go to Peter's house and introduce the formerly known Colonel Dan as Ida. They all accept him as Ida, except Quagmire, who has a very hard time seeing the man he idolized now talking about how pretty the house is, which doesn't exactly sound so wrong though. After a while, Brian finally returns to town after a so-called intellectual seminar, which probably only is dogs sniffing each other's butts to prove that cocaine should be legal. He decides to go to the bar first like every other smart person in the world, and guess who he meets there? It's none other than our lovely new lady Ida, who came to relieve some of the stress that Quagmire gave her. The two hit it off instantly, as Brian yaps about his so-called seminars and love starts blooming in the air, and they start kissing each other. Looks like Ida doesn't have the best taste in men, or should I say dogs, and they decide to go to a room to, do dirty dog stuff. Little do they know that they're really doing Quagmire dirty right now. Unaware of what he really did, he happily goes back home where he tells Lois and Peter about how he met a very amazing woman last night who had everything he ever wanted. He even takes out a picture to show them this amazing woman, and they start laughing on his face. Brian thinks that they've mocking Ida and says that they're just jealous that he found a real woman. A real woman indeed. Feeling like they're just jealous, so he goes to his best friend Stewie to complain about how no one cares, and Stewie calms him down.
I'm serious, Stewie. I have had an amazing few days, and nobody cares.
Oh, come on in, tell old Stu.
He tells Stewie all about how he met his soulmate, the woman of his dreams, and Stewie says that he also has a story related to a woman and tells him how the father of Brian's enemy just got his sex changed.
Decorated war hero Lieutenant Commander Dan Quagmire is now a woman.
Brian cannot be happier, feeling like Quagmire got what he finally deserves as he laughs about the downfall of his enemy, not knowing who that woman is.
What is it, like Danielle or Dana?
No, Ida.
Boy, is he about to go through some things. He keeps on asking questions about former Colonel Dan and unfortunately asks what they call him now, and the bomb finally drops on him. That's why they say that curiosity killed the cat. His puke stops, but his mental breakdown continues as he tells Stewie about how the so-called woman of his dreams that he slept with last night is the same war hero who decided to go gay.
What? What the hell? What's wrong with you? I had sex with her! What? I had sex with her at the Marriott! Oh!
While the mental breakdown continues on this side, Quagmire and Ida finally reconcile their differences and she tells him about how she met the perfect man, or more accurately, dog, last night, and alas, curiosity kills him too.
I met someone.
What, you did?
Oh my God, Glenn, he's amazing. I couldn't be happier.
Really? What's his name? No!
Quagmire's worst nightmare comes true as he learns that his worst enemy slept with his mom. Correction, slept with his new mom or former dad. Same thing. In a fit of rage, he goes to the Griffin house to take revenge. Brian tries to hide, but his skill issue exposes him. Brian helplessly gets beat up, but he doesn't let Quagmire off the hook and brings him back to reality before he leaves.
Hey. I your dad.
Oof, that must have hurt. Up next, Peter discovers an old, crusty rope toy under the couch, something that should have gone straight to the trash, but you know how it is. One man's treasure is another dog's obsession, so Brian jumps on the opportunity. A tug of war breaks out. Brian refuses to share. Peter wants it because, well, Peter. And the two wrestle like idiots over a frayed chew toy, showcasing the very peak of de-evolution. Lois, seeing her husband act like a rabid golden retriever, tries to stop him. I've never thought of golden retrievers in a bad light before seeing this. Thanks, Peter. Back at it, Peter tries again to get the rope from Brian. This time, he ups the ante with a noose. I wish I was joking with you. I really do. He tries to lasso Brian like a Looney Tunes special. Wrong cartoon, you oaf. Brian refuses to give up the toy. During a violent yank, Peter pulls too hard and Brian's teeth explode like popcorn. He howls in pain, his mouth now looking like a soggy French fry.
Oh man, I'm real sorry about your mouth, Brian. Damn it, Peter, what were you thinking?
Cut to dinner. The family tries to act normal, while Brian sits at the table looking like someone tried to build a dog out of clay. Meg actually tries to figure out what animal he now resembles, but gives up halfway because Meg is the human embodiment of surrender. Brian demands a trip to the dentist, but Peter says no.
Brian, we can try to make you feel a little less repulsive, but we're not spending human money on a deformed animal.
What?
Humiliated, Brian storms off. The dog is done being everyone's emotional punching bag. It's time for the poodle to find a purpose. Enter Quagmire. Brian thanks him for not piling on. Quagmire, in classic fashion, replies,
I don't care enough about you to lay into you. But now that you mention it, your face looks like a used condom.
And yet, in a rare moment of charity, Quagmire tosses Brian his dentist's card and says he'll bill him later. The episode would be 5 minutes long if this doesn't come back to bite Quagmire in the back.
That's my dentist. He'll bill me. I've got an account.
You got an account with a dentist?
Fast forward, Brian gets new teeth. But not just any teeth, Hollywood teeth. These things have their own real estate license. He walks in grinning like a walking Colgate commercial and everyone suddenly loves it. Free teeth privilege, am I right? Anyone? Brian, now high on veneers and validation, stumbles into real estate. A couple mistakes him for being a realtor, and because this is Family Guy, Brian immediately becomes one. Next thing you know, he's working under Carter, closing deals and swimming in a pool of self-righteous arrogance. This is my Family Guy right here. Quagmire, meanwhile, just got his pilot bonus. He's looking to invest, so Brian sees his next victim and sells him a nightmare condo in Quahog, with a creepy rug stain shaped like a child, possibly haunted. 100% Brian approved. This place is a crime scene seeking discovery. Always biting the hand that feeds him, Brian the scumbag.
What the hell? This is a dump!
But Brian's long gone. Quagmire sees that there is still time to rewind the contract, so he storms into the office, only to be told Brian's not in. Brian, on the other hand, is hiding away in a motel bathtub, avoiding calls so the contract rescind period expires.
Hiding from Quagmire for a few more hours. After that, he won't be able to pull out of that deal.
And if anybody knows how to pull out, it's Quagmire.
I wish we could say the same thing about Peter, my little Stewie. Quagmire eventually tracks him down. He demands a refund, but Brian tries to pitch him another scam property in Sinkhole Estates. Quagmire doesn't hold back.
Look, if you're not happy with your current property, we could roll your money over into something in Sinkhole Estates.
Brian finally crumbles under the weight of shame. He starts monologuing like the end of a shitty movie. Brian keeps talking, but all of it turns out to be another scam. As soon as the ding bells on the 72-hour window, Brian instantly changes his tone. Lights, camera, and action as Quagmire in a fit of fury swings a lampstand like Shohei Ohtani and breaks Brian's face again. Ouch. I can't say I feel bad for him though. Speaking of love, up next we have the time when Brian goes too far once again by bringing the love of Quagmire's life into the play, and Quagmire takes revenge by bringing in Jillian, who is the love of Brian's life. And so, like you can expect, things don't go smoothly. But it all starts from the time when Brian starts realizing that some of the things Quagmire said about him at the restaurant might be true. Personally speaking, I think they're all true, but what can we do? Oh, he mentioned Brian being a miserable alcoholic, right? Well, it starts from Brian chugging alcohol while being depressed about not getting a date with the girl he just met at the police station.
I'm Denise.
I'm Brian. Hey, would you mind if I asked for your number? Who knows, maybe we could get arrested together.
Sure, I'd like that.
A week goes by, and they go to a protest together, so Brian starts feeling like she is the one, just like how he felt about the last 20 girls he met on the streets.
You know, I really feel like Denise is the girl I've waited my whole life for.
Lois tries to bring him back to reality, but Brian thinks he is right. This time, he calls her up to ask her out on an actual date, and as expected, she rejects him because for the first time on this show, maybe someone finally realizes that he is a dog. He turns into a heartbroken, miserable alcoholic dog, which might sound familiar. Oh yes, that's what Quagmire said to him. And guess what? He was right. He drinks his heart out, feeling like he will never meet the right woman. Maybe it's about time he starts looking for other dogs instead of humans. Peter, being the best therapist alive, gives Brian some actual advice for the first time in the history of the show.
Why don't you take Quagmire's class on picking up chicks?
Quagmire teaches a class?
I take it back. That was the worst advice he could have possibly given to anyone. Love really is blind, because the desperation for love brings Brian to the class of his worst enemy. What could he possibly be doing at a class about picking up chicks? I'm sure he didn't come to learn how he can pick up chicks, right? Probably looking for how to stop getting abused by Peter. Quagmire tries to send him away, but Brian expected this and already has the receipt for the class. He takes his first theory class and Quagmire takes him to the club to apply what he learned and tells him to go hit on a fat chick. Brian, being a good student, listens to him, and his magic works perfectly, as the fat girl is head over heels for him. I don't know if heels can handle that much weight, though.
Let's go, lover!
Not sure how Brian was able to handle that much pressure. Time goes by, and Brian continues learning under the Grand Master, and finally his time to test his new skills on Denise comes. Looking like that, Denise will probably be on the knees very soon, probably asking him to die. However, a brain might be the last thing Brian has, because the first thing he does is tell her to shut up, because he thinks she might fall for him that way.
Shut up for a couple minutes, I'm gonna look around.
Brian, you're being kind of disrespectful.
She finds it very disrespectful, so he tries to calm her down by sending her a picture of his ding-dong. Yeah, he is not getting anything tonight, that's for sure. Brian is shocked by his failure and goes to complain to Quagmire like a small baby trying to blame everything on someone else. Quagmire shuts him up by reminding him that it's a course about picking up chicks, not finding the love of your life. Quagmire starts giving an emotional speech about how there is always that one perfect woman, and how Cheryl Tiegs was that woman for him, but they never fall for these tricks. He even roasts Brian by saying that he shouldn't have tried these tricks on Denise, and she was lucky that she didn't fall for a loser like Brian. Well, that was a friendly reminder that this pair of student and teacher hate each other to death. A few days go by and Quagmire's lifelong dream finally comes true, as out of nowhere, Cheryl shows up at his house.
Hi, Glenn.
Oh my God! Cheryl, what are you doing here?
It doesn't take long for his dreams to shatter, as it turns out that she came with her new boyfriend, Brian, who was out for revenge because of what Quagmire said to him last time. He even goes as far as kissing her right in front of Quagmire's eyes. Quagmire doesn't back down either, as he disrupts Cheryl and Brian's date by coming to the same restaurant with the love of Brian's life, Jillian.
Oh, my new girlfriend. Here she is.
Jillian?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Their fight reaches a peak as they both try to humiliate each other in front of their partners by snitching on each other. They even go as far as exposing everything about that class that they were a part of. Quagmire finally loses it when Brian exposes that he is half Polish, and they start throwing hands in the middle of the restaurant in front of the people they love. The girls finally separate the two and decide they're just boys who are not worth dating, so they leave the restaurant together. Well deserved if I say so myself. The two heartbroken men sit outside while Quagmire waits for his car, and they have a heartfelt talk for the first time.
I blew it for good, Brian. And you know what? I deserve to be lonely. I'm no saint. I dated Jillian just to hurt you.
When everything feels like it's going on the right path again. But no, Quagmire's not having it, as one good talk is not enough to make the hate disappear, so he rear-ends Brian with the car to reignite their feud.
Would you mind giving me a lift home, buddy?
Yep, that must have made Quagmire feel a little better, but not enough to fill the hole that Cheryl left behind. We all know that Quagmire loves cats. Well, if you didn't, you're not a true Family Guy nut. Anyways, up next, the tale of two men, one horny, the other smug. It's Brian versus Quagmire round 7,000. We open with the boys of the Drunken Clam, wondering where Quagmire's been all week. Here comes Quagmire, wearing a pastel cardigan and doting on a cat, like it's an emotional support baguette. Long story short, Quagmire has opened a cat cafe, because apparently the only thing Quahog needed less than another brewery was a room full of unneutered chaos and $6 lattes. Cue to the new cafe, and Quagmire's thriving. The cats are everywhere. Peter's choking on dander. Joe's allergic to cats, and probably also logic. But you know who's not impressed? Brian. He walks in like it's an episode of Hell's Kitchen and immediately starts scolding Quagmire.
You can't open this place here. It's right next to my favorite bar.
For once, the dumb dog might be in the right. There were more claws in the cafe than at a Real Housewives reunion. But Quagmire, of course, doesn't care. Brian, enraged and in peak Karen mode, threatens war with Quagmire. Cut to Brian, who is on a megaphone like a dollar store politician. He starts citing city ordinance about fecal matter within 20 feet of food. You can practically hear him Googling it from the streets. Is it just me, or does Brian only showcase his prodigal knowledge in useless scenarios?
Also, Persian cats? Let's call them what they are. Iranian cats. This entire operation needs to be shut down.
And yes, he tops it off by complaining about tipping percentages on Square registers. I knew you were thinking about it. All of Brian's meddlesome efforts work out.
Brian, I'm glad you're here. Based on the various public health concerns you raised, the city has decided to shut this establishment down.
Quagmire's face drops, and there goes my sleep for the day. His dream of building a community of coffee-drinking cat ladies crumbles like a neatly organized tower of playing cards. The health inspector shuts it all down, and Brian wins. Stewie and Brian leave the convention skipping like little environmental activists who just shut down a pipeline. But karma comes biting right back because soon after, Brian tries to enter the clam, but he is stopped.
The city has said that no animals of any kind are allowed in any public establishment.
The dog is his own undoing, as the city didn't just shut down the cat cafe. It banned all animals from public establishments, including Brian. Now Brian's banned from society and spiraling like a B-grade actor without any coke. Back at home, Stewie offers a solution, which is to wear an emotional support animal vest. It's the canine version of a fake disability parking spot card.
Where'd you even get that thing? The letters are iron-on. The vest is from when I worked at Office Depot.
Relatable, Stewie. All my DIY projects also begin with Office Depot and end with fraud. So off they go to a bar. But Stewie, being the narcissistic baby he is, needs emotional support for reals.
Say something nice about me or I'll disappear like a serial killer in a 90s movie.
Brian refuses. If you ever had a clingy friend and a restraining order, you understand. Meanwhile, Quagmire's world crumbles. He's now a feline cat lady with an XXL Minnie Mouse sweatshirt and approximately 73 cats, all of whom seem to be either dying or birthing more cats inside his mouth. The boys give him a visit. Later, Brian takes a walk in town muttering to himself about the law, while Quagmire lights a mountain of cat corpses on fire. I sincerely apologize if that was too graphic of a sentence for you, my fellow cat people. The two of them meet. That's when cat litter hits the fan and they get in a brawl. Both punch each other for a bit before coming to their senses, and Brian apologizes for being a massive poophead.
I'm sorry I destroyed your dream, Quagmire. I know you loved that cafe.
In a rare moment of Family Guy history, Quagmire opens up and claims that he actually just wanted to leave something good behind, not just another one of his perverted side missions. For once, Brian actually means it, so they walk off, not as rivals, but as friends with an unspoken agreement not to talk about that time one tried to drown the other in cat urine. Yikes. We're at the end of the road with this one. Next up, we have the time when Brian forgot all about the time he puked up a river after sleeping with Ida. Yeah, he didn't get over her, and instead found the perfect chance to get back to her, plus to win against Quagmire while she was feeling miserable after watching a tape of her own son. It all started when the guys decided to record the things they do after getting drunk, and Quagmire recorded himself having sex. They used Joe's body cam, and the video was automatically uploaded on the internet for everyone to see, eventually reaching Ida.
Oh, Glenn.
Howdy, stranger.
Brian, what are you doing here?
He starts talking about Quagmire's video right off the bat because no better way to take her to bed than to use her problems. He continues to throw out inspirational quotes which he probably read online, and Ida falls for them instantly.
Should we get a room? Absolutely.
Are they both forgetting what happened the last time they got together? If using her misery wasn't enough, he does the next worst thing, which is playing the victim, and she falls for it too. The next morning arrives, and it turns out that Brian wasn't just trying to take out his lust because he actually asked her out and she agrees. Things are about to get real tough for Quagmire. They go to the Griffin house to announce the start of their new relationship, but before he can say anything, they end up guessing it themselves.
It may come as a surprise, but
It's about Ida, isn't it?
It has to be.
They move on to the next hurdle in their relationship, which is telling Quagmire about it, so they invite to dinner to drop the bomb on him.
Ida and I begun dating.
You're joking, right?
It's true, son.
Quagmire decides to bear with it for the sake of his father, or mother's happiness, even going as far as letting Brian make him breakfast. Ida makes them go to the museum together, and it goes off right at the start when Brian tries to make a reference to the movie night at the museum, which pisses off Quagmire because it's his favorite movie, and he lashes out on Brian, warning him not to carelessly talk about it.
You didn't see the movie, did you?
No.
Why did you bring up a reference to something you know nothing about?
Making fun of a man's favorite movie is never the right thing to do. A few days later, they throw a barbecue party at the Griffin house where they decide to play a football match between the parents and the kids, but Quagmire gets sent to the kids' team because his dad is right there. Not Ida. Somebody seems to be enjoying it a lot. The match begins and Quagmire scores against Brian, and it pisses Quagmire that everyone is acting like Brian let him pass through intentionally. He has had enough of this Brian being his dad thing, so he leaves in anger, and Ida goes after him to calm him down, and he tells her how he is done with this roleplay, so she must choose between him or Brian. Ida looks at them both and finally decides that it's Brian.
I choose Brian.
Yes.
Wait, let her finish.
To talk to first.
She tells him that he is very special to her, and all the same old things a girl will tell you while breaking up before. And he finally gains freedom from the biggest nightmare of his life. And so this video comes to an end, unlike their rivalry, which goes on forever in the tiny world of Quahog. Let us know what your favorite rivalry moment between the two is, and make sure to like the video with a click on that subscribe button so you can continue to watch exciting videos about Quahog's psychotic residents. Until then, peace out.